I'm Ron Nirenberg, mayor of the city of San Antonio, and I support Progress Texas because they support civic leadership that is focused on improving the lives of working families, which we need more of and less of the divisiveness.
Great talk with Mayor Ron in San Antonio on Tuesday. That conversation posted one click back on this podcast feed. We are big fans, and it's Thursday, May 8th. 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has escalated his campaign against vote harvesting in Frio County. The Washington Post reports that 6 individuals, including Frio County Judge Rochelle Camacho and former Elections Administrator Carlos Segura, have been indicted and arrested on charges including 5 counts of vote harvesting and 1 count of tampering with or fabricating physical evidence. 2 Pearsall City Council members, Ramiro Trevino and Rachel Garza, and 1 school board member, Adrian Ramirez, were also arrested last week. Ken Paxton is a huge fan of Donald Trump's false claims of widespread election fraud and has aggressively pursued election-related prosecutions, but few of these cases have resulted in convictions, as the political motivations present are clear. Latino civil rights leaders and community members contend that Paxton's investigations have disproportionately targeted Black and Latino voters and Democratic volunteers, all part of an attempt to create a chilling effect on longstanding community efforts to boost voter turnout in those communities. The arrests in question rely on Texas's Senate Bill 1, which was passed 2 sessions back in 2021, introducing new voting restrictions and making it a felony to provide compensated ballot collecting or vote harvesting services, which are hard to distinguish from long-standing get-out-the-vote efforts. Texas law refers to vote harvesting as the practice of collecting and submitting completed mail-in ballots on behalf of voters, and have made moves to outlaw the practice, while community groups, especially in minority communities in Texas, have long used the practice to help elderly, disabled, or low-income voters participate in elections. LULAC CEO Juan Proaño says his organization is waiting for investigative material in the indictments to be released, adding, quote, "The rules have effectively changed slowly over time with the intent to essentially entrap people or make it harder for people to register folks to vote and to entrap them in these specific types of cases," unquote. It appears that while voter activation and engagement initiatives in Frio County have largely remained the same, the goalposts have quietly been moved in order to suppress them. We will follow. We've been enjoying signs lately that the most extreme elements of MAGA may be wearing out their welcome, even among reliable Republican voters, and those same folks here in Texas appear to be tiring of Donald Trump. Refer you to the latest Second Reading podcast, which is produced by the Texas Politics Project at UT Austin, warning that it's wonky. But as Benjamin Werman at the Houston Chronicle says, one tasty bit of the most recent data they're serving up is that approval of Trump's economic policy has dropped in deep red Texas to a brand new low of 40%. This is the first time that Trump has come in underwater on the economy since UT pollsters started following that metric in the summer of 2019. And right now they're even lower than they were during the darkest days of the COVID pandemic in Trump's first term. James Henson, who leads the Texas Politics Project and is nothing if not aggressively unbiased when it comes to politics, lays this 100% at the feet of our felonious POTUS, saying, quote, "President Trump owns the current economic uncertainty lock, stock, and barrel. He is trying to blame others, like the previous president or the Fed chair, for the current disruptions, but that's a hard sell to any reasonably critical observer and likely to get harder," unquote. Be sure to ask your MAGA uncle how his 401k's doing lately. On the international fights that Trump's been picking with basically everybody but Russia, this next bit is heartbreaking to me, considering the deep cultural ties that Texas has with Mexico. See the show notes for an LA Times piece on the growing anti-American sentiment developing south of the border, sentiment that's always kind of been there, frankly, considering the history between our countries, but is now more front and center with Trump's constant insults and threats against Mexico, which lately have included casual talk of American drone strikes on Mexican soil. Since Trump took office, Mexico has experienced a surge of nationalistic pride, including increasingly common calls for boycotts of U.S. products and a renewed embrace of Mexico's national colors and emblems in ads. President Claudia Sheinbaum has fueled this pride while balancing cooperation and resistance towards Donald Trump, frequently emphasizing sovereignty in her speeches and has lately started calling an opposition member a traitor for supporting U.S. plans to label drug cartels as terrorist groups, comparing him to conservatives who invited the French into Mexican affairs in the 1850s. We just marked the annual celebration of the French being booted back out of Mexico on Cinco de Mayo the other day. Deep historical grievances, particularly over the 1846 to 1848 U.S.-Mexico War, still shape Mexican views. And Donald Trump's recent attempts to bully our southern neighbor drive wedges into long-standing cultural relationships that have helped make Texas who we are. It's truly shameful. And in my opinion, our loss, big time. Sticking with recent bad days the hard right in Texas have been having, an interesting piece on Alex Fairley, an Amarillo tycoon type who's risen through the ranks of ultra-conservative donors in recent years. Fairley's no friend of ours, let's be clear. But Kate McGee at the Texas Tribune says he's begun to sour on the tactics that fellow fat cats like Tim Dunn and the Wilkes brothers have put into place, a system that runs on dishonest political ads, bigoted character assassinations, and pressure campaigns threatening lawmakers over their votes, all within the Republican Party itself. For the progressive side and Democrats, disarray within the GOP can be seen as a good thing, and I would say one of their mega donors calling them out for dirty play is a good thing as well. Interesting read in the show notes from the Texas Tribune. Again, Democrats are much better known for policing their own than the GOP is, and one of those own is in the hot seat. Lily Celeste at KRGV-TV in Weslaco says Congressman Henry Cuellar has fired back on the impending Texas Democratic Party vote on whether or not to sanction him. In a statement, Cuellar says that local party chairs in his district have been left out of the state party's process, that his voting record is based on the views of his local constituents, and that he intends to continue in his bipartisan ways in D.C. Texas Democratic Executive Committee members have taken issue with Congressman Cuellar for repeatedly voting against party lines. For recent example, he voted for legislation requiring the government to detain undocumented immigrants accused of minor crimes, and also for legislation requiring the yanking of federal funds from schools that allow trans athletes in girls' sports. Legislation that amounts to hateful Republican dog whistles designed to demonize trans people by attacking a largely non-existent problem. If the resolution to sanction Cuellar passes, he won't get financial support from the state party in the next campaign season and would also be banned from some party events. Congressman Cuellar has been asked repeatedly if he's thought about switching parties, but he's remained adamant that he plans to remain a Democrat. That SDEC vote is coming up on Monday. DFW and North Texas friends, please mark your calendars. From Monday, June 9th, we'll be hosting our 15th anniversary celebration in Dallas on that day. Links to become a supporter and to secure your tickets are up now at ProgressTexas.org. Shout out to our generous event sponsors, Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Pamela Pearson, Alex Andrade, Carol Taylor, Chuck Cruz, Amy Forehand, John Mazzaro, John Cotter, Allison Johnston, Grinter Allen, and many more. Thanks so much for the support. We look forward to seeing you again for 15 years of Progress in Dallas on Monday, June 9th. Tickets and more at ProgressTexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Those oil and tech billionaires we were talking about and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light that we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding, and if that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to ProgressTexas.org/donate. Thanks to Richard Rodine, Marvin Hecker, and Hannah Banks, all of whom have joined the team lately. We appreciate all of you very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit, rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.